Pete Dog,
Oh man, how are things?
we are on time.
This is a miracle. All three of us?
No. Still ain't nowhere near on time. But we are on time.
Of course. I would never seriously ask a question like that.
Like, oh, still being on time?
Yeah, come on
Yeah,
now.
nah, still ain't gonna never be on time.
No.
Never ever. If he show up, he might not even show up. That's the crazy part. Like you again, man, you would think you ever came up with plans with your homies and y'all make a plan. Y'all decide, like, you know what, this is the plan. We gonna be on time. I remember that meeting again. I'm gonna have that conversation. I remember having that meeting, and we like, you know what? We are going to make sure we are on time. We're gonna be here. We're gonna make the commitment every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And the loudest person in the room was still saying, like, oh yeah, I'll be there. I don't even know how many he's joined since then.
He's more like a special guest. I think maybe he likes the cachet of the irregularity so that when he does show, it's not like part of the show. It's like, oh, this is a Steel episode. It's big time.
Oh,
Like
this is a still episode.
he's trying to, like minimize his saturation factor.
Mm.
Strategic.
So his missing is strategic. That's why he's not showing up. Okay,
Yeah,
got it.
he's trying to add value like through the scarcity of steel.
Okay, no ceilings live. The lunch hour every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at noon Pacific Standard Time. Again, to promote the No Ceilings podcast. If you look in the link below, if you look in the description below, you'll see a link to the No Ceilings podcast. Click that link, subscribe, get down with the get down. But right now we on the No Ceilings live, the lunch hour, and this is what we doing right now. Make sure y'all click like, show people you like this, all that, and we gonna get down to the conversation for sure, for sure. So I was talking to my little homie Kevy, and it blew me away, right? Make sure y'all check in the comments so I could know in the house. Shout out to Andre Armstead, Mr. Green. I'm glad you back. Squishy, thank you for the love. Thank y'all for showing up. I've been telling still it ain't no super chats. So people can't even buy us lunch if they wanted to. It
Mm.
still argues me down that there's a super chat. And I'm like, right now, I'm on YouTube and I don't see a super chat.
Hmm.
I'm trying to buy you lunch on the super chat, and I don't even see it. Do y'all see a super chat? Let me know in the comments if y'all see a super chat, because I don't see no damn super chat. I'm looking, I see shared, I see report, I see clip, I see save, but I do not see a super chat. I don't see there's no way for people to buy us lunch. So
If our
still, your ass is wrong again.
if our listeners were savvy, they'd definitely say there was no super chat because it gives them an alibi for not sending out super chats. I wouldn't say there's a super chat and not send one. I'd say no, there's no super chat.
Yeah, I don't see it. Dollar sign on the bottom right. I don't see it, Joey. Dollar sign on the bottom right. I must got an old YouTube or something, because I do not see it. Dollar sign on the bottom right. No, I don't see it.
Oh
Huh.
well.
Well, anyway. So back to the point, right? So my homeboy Kev, my little shout out to my little homeboy Kevy. Shout out to the homie Ronald. I don't see it. Or maybe I don't. Did they take the ability for me to support somebody in the super chat?
Oh, probably because if it's not hosted on your account, is it?
No, it's on digital. So
Let me,
you gotta go to the comments. Oh, I'm gonna buy us a super chat. Hold on, let me
hold on
see.
one second. One second.
Let me see.
I want to see it on my own thing.
Hold on, I'm gonna do it right now. Oh, I see it. I see it. Okay, cool. I see it. I'm finna buy it right now. Make sure it's working. Okay, solid. Okay, I got it. Okay, there we go. Boom. Super chat. Okay. Oh, so y'all just not fucking with us. I'm thinking I'm arguing still. I'm like, there's no way people wouldn't have bought us lunch by now, but y'all really ain't buying us lunch. Okay, no problem. Uh, anyway, I'm talking to my homeboy Kev, to the little homie Ronald. Ronald is really my homeboy. That's Chuck Dizzle's cousin from Homegrown Radio, or if you listen to the Real 92.3 in Los Angeles, Homegrown Podcast, Chuck Dizzle. Shout out to Kev. And Kev made me think of some really deep stuff, right? And I was talking to Chris Steele, which is Steele's son. Chris Steele is a professional football player, my little nephew. And I noticed their generation, they don't really know what's going on. So we were talking about the Diddy case, and I'm asking him questions, and he like, man, G, you don't think he deserved what's happening? I'm like, deserve what? He like, he taking vagina from girls. I'm like, yo, bro, he not being charged with rape. Like, that's not what he being charged with. And I'm asking him, and I realized Kev or my nephew Chris didn't quite know what Diddy was being charged with. And that threw me off, you know what I mean? Because even somebody like R. Kelly, again, I don't think people really knew what they were being charged with. I think people fantasized an idea and imagine what they were being charged with. I don't think they actually know the charges.
Absolutely not.
And he decided to, tell me he deserved it. So I started to explain to him. I say, hey, man, he's being charged with racketeering like John Gotti, like he's running a criminal organization. So I started to break down the charges to Kevin, and I explained to him. He was like, yeah, so forth and so on. And it really blew me away. And he started to tell me what he thought of Diddy. And it again, as I look at social media and how it can be used, and Ronald started to tell me the same thing. Ronald was saying, Glass, he messed over his artist. And I'm like, well, how did he mess over his artist? Like, I didn't understand that. Like, I saw the Locks complaining about publishing that they sold. I'm sure they would like it back, but I'm sure when they got the money at that time, that made sense to them. And now we're in a position to where it's like, okay, every time we hear rumors are becoming true.
Yeah. That's been so abundantly obvious for so long with so many different, various issues. I mean, you see it in everything. I mean, like, half the protests about this cause or that cause, nobody knows what they're talking about. That's why you see all these people, like, whether it be like a Tyreek Hill thing. They'll probably didn't watch the video. They see Tyreek Hill thrown on the police, and they, whatever. Or the Palestinians. Oh, what's the issue with? What's your opinion on the conflict with Palestine and Israel, whatever? I don't know. I just think it's unjust. What about it's unjust? I don't know. But everybody else says it's unjust. It's just whatever the hell. Like, nobody pays attention. Nobody knows anything, learns anything. It's just. It's such a broadly expansive, norm at this point.
How could people be so ignorant in the era of the smartphone? How could people be so stupid in the era of the smartphone? I don't get that. Like, what am I missing, dog?
Well, the smartphone caters what you see around what you previously have seen. So most people in that camp, they see or respond to certain shit that might be superficial and emotionally targeting. So then the algorithm updates that around their quote unquote preferences. So then they just see more of that. And it's easy to go, if you got a mouth and a mic, to go spout off some emotionally defined talking point about something. It's easier to just state feelings than to actually do research and apply logic and understanding. That requires, mental legwork. No one wants to do that.
Yeah, but even in a time, bro, where, like, I remember growing up watching basketball and only being familiar with the basketball players that were playing, or stories that I heard about the basketball players from the 70s or 60s or 50s. You know what I mean? I remember hearing about that stuff at that time.
Yeah.
And ever since I got my phone, my smartphone, I've been able to go back. Like, prime example, bro, my ratings, like my rankings in sports have changed dramatically, dog. Dramatically. Because now I'm able to go back and watch 100 games from Bill Russell. I'm able to go back and watch 50 games from Bob Cousy. I'm able to go back and watch 100 games from Prime Dennis Johnson, who's out of Compton and went to Dominguez High School, that played and won a championship with the 76ers before he ever played a game with the Celtics. You know what I mean? Finals MVP. So I'm able to adjust my rankings based off the smartphone and the
Supersonics, right?
Yeah. 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 Yep. And I'm able to get more information. But as I'm talking to Kev and I'm asking him, I'm like, he really just didn't know. And I'm like, so all of this hoopla is going on with Diddy. All this hoopla. Like, you see all this hoopla, right? And you don't care to figure out what's going on. Like, you don't care to say what actually is happening, not the narrative that's being carried around by social media or word of mouth, but let me dig deep and see what's happening, which really wouldn't even be a deep dive. You can Google Diddy's actual charges and see. So why is it that people not doing that?
It is no. We're like the very, very, very end of an era in which critical thought was actually, if not taught, at least, you were exposed to the idea that it existed. The younger than us is the least skeptical. They like to bitch, but they are not intellectually skeptical at all. So whatever the broader communal narrative is, they just take it for what it is. They're the most compliant, least critical group of people probably in the country's history from a generational standpoint. And this is just another example. It is pervasive in every possible way. They bitch about things that they don't feel that they like. They don't understand why at all. It's just, and the only thing, to be even more frank, other than maybe groups or individuals, not even groups, but like an individual that doesn't have a thing that they want. Other than that, I think they're just mad about shit they don't like because they're told to be mad. I don't even think they know what the fuck they even like or care about. You're supposed to be up in arms and offended by this, so you better be. Okay. I don't know why.
Michael Love, people don't know how to research and just rely on just what they hear. Mike, the problem is Google has made researching incredibly simple. It don't really take that much work, you know what I mean, to research.
Well, it depends on what it is too. That's another issue.
You really can research everything with YouTube and Google, especially Google.
But Google, if you want to do research, the first 15 things you're going to get, 14 of them are going to be bad.
Yeah, but depending on the topic. Good or bad, at least to have accurate information, Pete. At least to have accurate information. United Strength. Shout out to United Strength for the super chat. I appreciate you, Unc, man. Love you for that, man. Our first super chat. Thank you, God.
Oh,
yeah. Man, act like we know something. The truth will still come. Sometimes in the lies, there is some truth. Yes, but at least you would think, I'm starting to believe that 90% of the people don't know his actual charges.
No. These are the same people that were wearing masks in cars by themselves.
That's a good point. Kevy, what up, Kev? I'm actually talking about my nephew, Kev. Kev in the comments.
Chris played on a football team that rejected an offer to go to a bowl game because it was concerned and tired of dealing with the risk of COVID.
Cassie opened the floodgates with the video and it made everything he's accused of doing more credible to believe. Cassie, what would fighting your old lady, hold up, Kev. What would fighting your old lady have to do with him being the racketeer of a criminal organization? How, like, that's what I'm saying. How does your generation connect those two? Like, what was him hitting on his old lady have to do with him running a criminal organization? How do those two come together? How does him buying the Locks publishing and the Locks being upset with him buying the publishing and wanting it back, what would that have to do with him running a criminal organization? That's what he's being charged with, Kev. He's running a criminal organization. Like, and it's really intellectually lazy, and it's scary because this generation does have the smartphone. So just because I run a stoplight don't mean I murdered an old white man. Like, one thing doesn't make you guilty of everything. Like, how the
that you're running a criminal hit and run organization where the whole organization survives on the revenue of your hit and runs.
How, like, and that's what's scary to me, because Chris said the same thing. Chris said the same thing. You know what I'm saying? He said, well, you know, he got into it with Cassie or the Locks publishing. I'm like, bro, he's accused of running a mafia. He's accused of running a mafia. That's one of his charges. The other charges is that he's selling women into prostitution. Yes. Not buying prostitutes like the obvious truth. He's selling women into prostitution. Like, how does him fighting his old lady or him buying publishing from a group that now has a disdain for the deal that they did, how does those two connect into he actually is doing?
It's like transferring the name of your house into a corporate entity. It's like he's buying and selling the prostitutes to and from himself.
I mean, minus the fact, I'm just saying that's what it feels like. It feels like they like, well, if you did something, you did everything. I'm like, God damn. Mm-hmm. How is that possible?
That's what they've been told for 10 years. Oh, well, Donald Trump uses coarse language, so he must be a Nazi. Oh, that's how it works. Coarse language equals Nazi.
Michael Love, I agree, but researching is also a skill most of the younger generation hasn't learned. I think researching used to be a skill, Mike. Yeah. I think researching used to be a skill, Mike. It used to be. I think right now researching is as simple as the usage of your phone. I think when we were younger, you had to go to the library. I was blessed to have the internet, again, like I told my homies, in the 90s. You know what I mean? When I was a little kid, I was blessed to have the internet. So even then, researching was harder. Now the information is readily available, like factual information for you to formulate your own concept. Like, even visiting the Diddy thing with Mace. Mace is like, oh, you know, Puff has my publishing. No, you sold Puff your publishing. It doesn't make Puff a bad guy for buying your publishing, just like it doesn't make you a bad guy for selling your publishing. But you can't look at how much your publishing is worth now and say, oh, he cheated me. That's just
I hate that. I hate that shit so I hate that more than anything else in this whole conversation is people who got paid for a thing, fucked off the money, and then are mad because the asset is worth more than it was. If they sold the thing, took the money, and just put it into another thing, in all likelihood, there is a whole bouquet of other things. They could have just taken the money and set it in there, and it would be worth more than the fucking music catalog's worth now. And then they'd be yucking it up laughing, but they didn't do it.
Shout out to Devin Cutmore. There are still people wearing masks outside and alone in their cars in Shinada. I'm crying.
I think that's China. That is great.
I believe it. Man. United Strength. It's not just him they're going after. The music execs, the music industry overcharged him to get him to tell the truth, to testify. I hope it's something that, oh my God. We got 2 super chats. Amber Walls, I love you.
Holy crap.
Oh my God. We could almost get lunch at the lunch hour.
This is unbelievable. We're going to have to throw.
Jay Hayes. Oh my.
At this rate, we're going to have to throw a free barbecue party for the listeners.
You feel me?
This keeps rolling in like this.
No ceilings barbecue next year for the summer to kick off the summer.
Heck yeah.
Okay,
Heck
that's what
yeah.
we doing. No ceilings barbecue. We could do a barbecue on Skid Row for the homeless, and it'll be a no ceilings barbecue, so everybody can eat, even the homeless people. We just
And
go
by that
crazy.
time, I might be living there.
Oh my God. Oh my God. Yeah. So no ceilings live, the lunch hour. Thank y'all for joining us again. Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at noon, 12 to whenever we stop. We keep going. We're gonna keep going. We appreciate the super chats. We actually feel like real streamers at this point. Shout out to everybody supporting. Um, Shout out to everybody in the chats, man. Make sure y'all checking the chat. Shout out to Verbal Kent, United Strength, Michael Love, my little brother, my little nephew Kevy, Devin Cutmore, Amber Walls, Jay Halls, Disciplinary Procedures. I love that DP title. That must be douchemack because DP, the people don't even use that. And everybody else, make sure y'all checking the super chats. Let us know, checking the chat. Let us know what's going on. Michael Love, we understand how to go through different avenues to decipher the truth, but younger people just go with the click and decide that's the truth. But I don't know if they're researching when they come up with that, Mike. Like that's my thing. I don't know if they're really researching. If there's a piece of content that comes across their timeline, you know what I'm saying, with people complaining, you know what I'm saying? Or saying this happened. I don't know if that's really research, Mike. I don't know if I would consider that research.
Here's
Like
like the
if you see Mace complaining like, man, Puff's a bad guy, I want he has my publishing and he won't give it, he's making all this money off my publishing and he's a snake. I don't think they researched that, Mike. I think what they came up with is an opinion of somebody on somebody else versus to figure out exactly what happened with the publishing. And I think it's really easy to Google what happened. You don't have to Google an opinion. You can say, hey, what are Puff's charges? What are Puff's charges? That's just crazy. You know what I'm
I
saying? I
think
don't
that
think that's what's happening.
there's a little bit there's a low level of skill to that. And I think they don't I think the problem, the root is they don't know bullshit when they smell it. So they hear thing on TikTok, right? Then they'll go look up the thing in the same language it was presented to them on TikTok, and the first thing to populate on Google will be some stupid article that says the exact same thing they heard because the guy that said it on TikTok just read that article. So it becomes this circle jerk of just empty, superficial garbage information. And they don't understand complex systems enough, and they don't understand critical thought enough and skepticism enough to be able to just go, well, that's very incomplete. Let me go further into this. They just go, oh, well, he said it. The New York Times said it. It's complete. Then move on.
Okay, so at that point, so critical thought is definitely a reflection of intellect, right?
Sure.
So then can we agree that everybody's not blessed with intellect?
I've been saying that for you. You're the one who doesn't like that.
Well, I think no, you and Head say everybody's stupid. I think I don't think I think most people are distracted. I think you have to figure out how to teach people, but being stupid is incapable of learning. Being ignorant is you just lack information. Being
Sure.
unintelligent is a gift. You have to have it. Like college furthers something you have to have innately, right? That's a blessing. Is that fair to say?
Uh, depends on the level of college. A lot of that stuff. I mean, look at what education's turned into over the last 25, 30 years. It's not test score based. My test scores were great. It was, but everybody else's test scores were largely shitty in most of the classes I went to, relative to mine at least. But they would have better homework scores. They would do extra credit. They would They would do all these other things to make up for it, and then they'd walk out with a better grade based off of empty effort, largely. So, I mean, it depends on where you want to draw the line. I mean, as far as defining intellect broadly, sure, there's an intellectual vacuum. There's a methodology vacuum. But I mean, look at even and this is true though. I mean, like it depends on to what extent. I mean, you can go back for years and years. Like the Obama administration the slogan was hope and change. What in the living fuck does that even mean? You're like now people say like I'm gonna cap Kamala Harris. I'm gonna cap the prices of goods at the grocery store. People don't comprehend what that means, what goes into that, what results come from that. All these are very complicated devices, and people throw out a platitude, and all of a sudden, yay, it's all hunky dory again. And that's not how it works. But people don't. Part of it's lazy, part of it's ignorant, and part of it is some of that stuff's like very complex. I mean, like you know how like I was having a conversation with Malcolm a week or so ago about I can't remember what the hell it was even about. But we're talking about like demographics in the country. You know how like when a sample size is too small, you can't take it credibly because it could be polluted by an outlier at too great a ratio?
Sure.
I think also when you look at you can have a sample size get too big over a diverse landscape. Where like, if you were just to say like Black America blank, okay, well, there might be an input factor in the Midwest that's totally different than the West Coast, that's totally different from the Southeast. And it's so broad and so expansive and so diverse within itself that it becomes difficult to try to narrow down what a cause and effect is within that large of a sample size. Because as it gets too big, it becomes not as uniform. So, I mean, there's just, it depends on what the matter is. But I think some things are so difficult to dive into that people just say, I'm just going to stop diving. Screw it. If they say that's what it is, it's what it is. It's good enough for me.
Kevin McFly, another super chat. Kev, I appreciate you, brother. And thank you for the conversation today. Hassan Burton, is Diddy a bad guy? I must reserve judgment. However, let's say he is for conversation's sake. This is all behavior he's engaged in and is a reflection of social equality of those on the other side. The other side of what exactly? I gotta wait for you to tell me about that other side. But thanks, Hassan, for contributing. Squishy, they no longer teach critical thinking in schools. I don't think you could really teach critical thought, but I definitely agree that they don't nurture it anymore. They don't nurture it. Again, I'm one of the few. Like I'm different than Pete, right? It's like I believe intellect is a gift of shepherds. Like I think like God did a great job of creating shepherds, you know what I'm saying, to lead people. I think we just have a lot of bad shepherds. You know what I'm saying? I think sheep are sheep. I think life was created for people to be sheep. Some people just fall into the assignment of moving from where they got to go to where they need to be. Simple as that. And there's no crime in that. If that's the depth of what your thought is, there's nothing wrong with that. But I think it is up to a certain amount of human beings to lead people into better positions. And I think that's where humanity is failing. I think that's where humanity is failing in everything. Daryl Jackson, what's up, D? I'm glad you checked in today, man. That mean the world to me, man. You've been here rocking with us. College only demonstrates your ability to learn. Yeah, I agree with that. I think the goal of it is with the
essays. It depends on your definition of learn.
Huh?
I think it depends on your definition of learn.
Well, learning is just to retain information. It don't mean the ability to process that information. It means to retain information. Learning is just retaining. It doesn't mean execution. It doesn't mean operation. It means just to know.
So learning, not necessarily learning of thinking skills or learning of just purely here's information, remember it, repeat it back to me. Not learning a skill of how to manipulate information. I don't mean deceitfully. I just mean
sure, the ability to use it. T-Mac TV, Memphis checking in. Shout out to Memphis, the 901. What's up, baby?
You're one of my fave towns. One of my favorite towns.
I don't think you could teach intellect. I don't think you could teach people how to think. I think it's a light just has to go off. Like certain things that work for me as somebody who prides himself in their intellect, a light just goes off. Words start to connect. When three letters of the same is on two-letter words, something goes off, and immediately I want to go figure out what's happening. When Puff is charged, I'm looking at the highlights. I see the ESPN Sports Center highlights, but then I have to go watch the whole game if I want to have a conversation about it. Like, I refuse to comment based off of the highlights from Sports Center. I need to go watch the game. I can't just watch the knockout, the highlight reel knockout in a fight for me to comment. I have to go and watch the fight. I have to read about the fighters. Like, I have to know more to truly give an opinion, or other than that, I'm wasting my time. But that's because a light goes off in my head, and then there's a simple desire innately. Nobody taught me how to think. You know what I'm saying? Nobody taught me how to think at all. Kevy McFly, can we all agree that he has at least mastered manipulation, which brought a lot of people's success as well as downfall within that? I think money becomes the ultimate manipulation, Kevy. People's desire to have, you know what? I want to say when people go to Puff, it's people's desire to have something, but I don't think that's what it is. I think people want too much. I think there's a gluttonous nature that's practiced in America today that's really frightening. Because Kev, like, I've been knowing Puff, I've been hearing stories about Puff parties since the 90s, since I was in high school, Kev. Like, since the 90s, Kevy. Like, I've never desired to go to a Puff party. The three I've been to, I never cared about going. Like, people see the Jay-Z brunch, and all I see, and forgive me, Hove, you know you my guy, I love you with all my heart, but you know, you gotta let me be a Crip. All I see is a bunch of funny dressed brothers. I have no desire to go there, but people's desire to go there is to fraternize with successful people that have too much in their eyes. The concept of generational wealth. I never desired that. I never desired to have more than I needed in my entire life. I never saw that there was a purpose for it. You know what I mean? It never worked out for, I never thought that. But because humans desire that, they allow themselves to be manipulated for money. Now, is it Puff's fault that he has an abundance of economics, or is it humans' fault for desiring more than they need? Because if it was just what you need, you don't got to go way to a Puffy party to get what you need, bro. It's plenty of places in between here and a Puffy party that you can get what you actually need. So again, the gluttonous nature of humans, because, you know, for whatever reason, because why are girls going to Puff parties for years would be beyond me, unless you're going to get high, drunk, or knocked down, or fuck. Like, simple. Everybody knew this about Puff parties. So again, so when you're saying, is he manipulating people? I think he's manipulating people as much as humans manipulate each other. I think women can manipulate men to go on dates because they know you want to sleep with them and they can hold that as a tool. I think men could manipulate women because, you know, they feel like men have money or whatever they desire. So I think that's a standard in existing. When somebody has what you want, you can be in compromising situations. Now, should you be, is a whole different conversation. That's up to your ethics and moral. But for me, I'm not doing one thing. Listen, ever since I've broke my meals down into basic shit, just meals, man, the way I see the world is completely different. Just meals, bro. I broke them down into such small things where it's like, Pete, I'm eating what I need for food. Like, I'm eating what I need. I'm not even eating what I want. Sometimes I will. Like, if I want some chili cheese fries coming up, I'm going to make them myself. You know what I'm saying? So again, it's just a weird situation. I don't know if it's fair to say he's manipulating people. I think people's desires allow them to actually be compromised, if they think it's even a compromise in real time. Michael Love, I remember when headlines used to get you to read an article, but now the headline is taken more seriously than reading the article. I agree, Mike, and that's part of my marketing. I was talking to Pete about this. Even how I'm about to roll out the marketing for this album, you know, me and the Giants are about to put out. People don't read the rest of the article, and humans and shepherds, I should say, prey on that. They prey on the fact you don't read the rest of the article. So they make a headline fit, and here's the headline. You know what I'm saying? And then you immediately emotionally react. You don't do any type of dive past that. That's a great point, Mike. And I realized that a while ago. That's why I said, to me, the best marketing people are the people who capture the most headlines. Also, I've also felt like in the NBA, the MVP, the most valued player, not the best player, because people think the MVP is the best player. It's not. It's the most valued player. Who's bringing the most value to the NBA? That's a headline game as well. That's a highlight game.
You know what should factor into that? Contract price. Because if you were really valuable, you'd be like, no, I mean, for the money, that guy's the most valuable.
Yeah, hands down.
Fine.
Squishy Crutchfield. Critical thinking includes the ability to analyze information and solve problems. That can be taught, right? What part of critical thinking do you think has to come naturally? Let me leave that up for a minute. So
I agree with her on this. Being analyzation and discernment, like those things can be taught. I think to some degree, really, it's just like speed of processing and maybe the length to which you can take a limited piece of information and expand it out into like how much could like matter can you convert, so to speak. If you can convert a pound of matter in one form into 10 pounds of matter in another form versus 3, that's like probably your innate capacity. But suspending all reality of physics from that, but like as far as the tools to just know the material does not end here as I hand it to you. You can do things with it. That I think can be taught. That you have to do something with it, and what you can do and how to do that. Sure, the extent to which you can do it is probably on you.
As far as intellect and critical thinking, I think it's one facet of intellect. The ability to solve can still be taught. I agree. You can teach people how to solve. But again, I don't know if that's. Let's look up the definition.
Sure, and that's true. This is all goes back to it's all part of the same thing. The whole thing, as a ratio of hours per year, students as time goes on are being taught and exposed to less and less and less and less math and sciences, and more and more and more and more feelings-based shit.
Critical thinking is the process of analyzing information and using it to form a judgment or decide if something is right or wrong. It involves questioning, interpreting, and evaluating what you read, hear, say, or write. And that's why I think it can't be taught. The questioning part. Like that, like since I've been a little kid, my dad used to get upset when I would ask him why. I would ask my father and mother why often. Why? That is a frustrating thing for people. So I don't know if you can teach that. You could tell somebody their whole life, you need to ask why. You need to ask why. You need to ask why. But something innately burns inside of me that makes me ask why. Why? Huge thing. The guy that's watching this live, who actually gave us our first super chat, United Strength, Unc. He really helped me into a lot of like critical solving things that I never knew how to value. You know what I'm saying? And he shed a light on that. But there was something burning inside of me already. Like it was always a desire to know. And that's what I think intellect truly seeds from, if that makes sense. You know what I'm saying? The desire to know, not just know, like why a record is a record. You know, how did that become something? Like we all get in this record business, right? Shout out to Jay Hayes and everybody else in here who making music. You know what I mean? But if you would hear a term like record, people would say that, oh, you know what? You need to make a record, not a song, a record. There's something that burns that says, what is a record? Where did that come from? What does that mean? So I went to look and research what it meant. Nobody told me to do that. You know what I'm saying? Nobody told me how to do that. It's just what comes. Again, this is the No Ceilings Live lunch hour. Below in the description is a link to the No Ceilings podcast. Y'all need to subscribe. We just dropped a fresh episode yesterday. They drop every Tuesday. Click below, subscribe, hit the like button on this thing right here. Let people know you fucking with it. The super chats is open. Shout out to everybody still in the chats contributing further in the conversation. Shout out to Michael Love, Squishy Crutchfield, feel me, Verbal Kent. What's up, Kent? We back up in here. Shaki. Oh, thank you. So we got another super chat. Shout out to y'all. Keep doing what y'all do. Oh my God. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
We're gonna be throwing an ugly sweater party at this rate. We won't even have to wait till next
crazy. Yeah.
Open bar of eggnog.
Verbal Kent, success. It's got enemies. You can be successful and have enemies, or you can be unsuccessful and have friends. They don't have to go two different ways. They don't have to go two different ways. Kevin McFly, I was going to say that people are compromising morals that had for themselves, or that they had for themselves to get whatever they are looking for. I don't know if that was ever their moral. See, a lot of things people
I think in
say,
general there's a lot of truth to that.
Well, I don't know, because I don't think people are compromising their moral. I don't think morally they ever stood a get for it. Like when you go to a Diddy party, right? People are getting high.
Sure.
I don't think people. I mean, even when you go on a simple date, so much of the stuff that Diddy is being accused of is standard in normal world. Like when you take a girl out and you really want to get to spend time with her and you want her to loosen up, why do you want her to loosen up? Right? You take her to a bar and immediately she starts to drink liquor as you buy it. She has to know what's going on.
Sure. I think in general though, like in the greater like aggregate data, like in the US, there's certainly a decline in religion. And while there's exceptions to all of that and various issues, in general speak, that does lead to a decline in morality. Like, you know, the sea level and morality is receding. And I think either one's the cause and one's the result, whichever one is which, but they're paired.
But I've always had this belief that morality comes from three different places: religion, laws, or the streets. That's the main source and programming of morality.
Sure.
Right? It sounds weird, but
we're not in a decline of laws.
Yeah, it's a great point, right?
We're not really in a decline of streets. We are in a rapid decline of faith in the country, though.
For sure. But so at that point, without religion, why? Again, like people used to go to these parties to take drugs, to do the things that they thought people wanted to do at the parties.
Yeah.
Like that's why they took drugs. Like even when I read that in the indictment, it's like he controlled people with drugs. I think even reading that, I could see that that's loose, because if he was forcing people, that his charges would be different. So if he was drugging them, his charges would be different. But what I'm starting to believe is they're saying he gave everybody drugs so they would ease up, and they're weaponizing that. But they're also not being genuine when they're not realizing he's taking the same drugs to do the same shit.
Sure. I mean, his agenda might be different. I mean, some of it's also there is a little bit of daylight between like what we believe to be happening and what this amount of time removed from the happening, you know, we can actually prove with evidence. So he might have been lacing everybody's shit to get them on his level of, you know, wildness or whatever the hell, largely against their at least predetermined will.
I don't know if
they don't have the evidence for it.
But that's not true. Like you knew that this is how they party. Like he wasn't drinking out of a different bottle. He was drinking out the same damn bottle. This is the things you heard, Pete, about Puff parties.
Sure.
This is why people like me and Marlon will go home because I don't do drugs. So not only do I not do drugs, I don't want to hang around people doing drugs. Because whatever they doing off drugs, I don't want to do that too.
Sure. I get that.
So again, it's like, it's when you say lace, right? Yes, legally that could be the term used. But the reality is, this is how they did the alcohol at these parties, and everybody, I'm not surprised by any of this. This was all common knowledge. So if the soberest nigga in the room knew what was happening, everybody else knew. You know why them girls went to that party?
Sure.
Sean Harris, G-Lo, Rose Gold Pete. Man, what's happening? Much love, player. Thank y'all for checking in. Kevy, there's a lot that a person would compromise to get a lot of money and some sort of success. We've seen it our whole lives. Oh, there's a lot that people would compromise. Yeah,
I mean, Cass is the best example. Apparently, she hated this shit and was miserable for all these years, but she sure liked them cars and those private planes and those houses.
Yeah, and I'm sure she didn't want her ass kicked or to be fighting with Puff like that, but the lifestyle is what she stayed for.
Yeah, when did that happen, by the way, that video?
I think it was like a 2015, 16.
So she rolled around 5 years, 6, 7, 8 years after that?
Yes.
She still hung there?
Yeah. Again, okay. So just from people that know them, they had a really, a really explosive relationship. How about that?
Sure. Very turbulent. Yeah.
Fight. They would fight. You know what I'm saying? And we saw that video, but it don't make what Puff did okay. That's not the question. But people stay with people that got some money and they fight. Yeah. You know what I mean? And again, I agree with you, Kev. That's a great point. You know what I mean? People will compromise to get a level of money and success. But then when you don't get that level of money or success that you thought you was going to get, you can't, it shouldn't be morally, you shouldn't, it's not viable to come back to me after you did it and you didn't get what you wanted. You're like, well, I didn't get what I wanted, so now I'm mad that I did all of this.
You know what the difference is? You ever see those things on ad pop-ups where it's like, take this survey for a chance to win $500? Not take this survey for $500. Take this survey for a chance to win $500. That's like what this is. Nobody who gets the $500 bitches about having taken the survey. But people who spend an hour taking a fucking survey and get nothing, they are the ones that are pissed. The same thing's true with this. Same is true with Weinstein. Suck this dick for a chance to be in the movie. Great, I'm gonna suck a dick on being in the movie. No. You're sucking a dick for a chance to be in the movie.
Chance to be in a movie. And that's my point.
I gave you exactly what you asked. What I promised. You got it.
Yeah. Keith Haddington told me that. No. But that's really how I feel. That's what it feels like to me. It's like, well, if you mess with me, it may work out for you, but
may not.
You know what I mean? You could come up short. Yeah, and Cassie got her paper at the end of the day, but the whole feel sorry for her, I don't.
How long was she with that guy? 10, 20 years? It was a long time. 20 years, right?
Why would you be with Puff?
She was with this dude she lived a luxurious lifestyle for 20 years and then got a severance.
Man.
All right.
But then again, that's why I say a lot of men judge themselves by the women they date. You can't judge yourself by that. Because them women then did some stuff that would make you frown. Your whole heart would bust open. You'd be so devastated if you realize what some of these women are doing when they're not around you. You know what I mean? You would be disgusted. It would hurt your heart. You got to realize they're not that much different than us. They should be, because Lord knows they are the greatest things walking this earth. They can bring life into this universe, but they will conduct themselves very much like one of us. Sure. God will act like one of us fast. So you got to know it. So
wouldn't you if you lived in a universe without consequences?
No, I would pride myself in living as far strong as I could.
Sure, but no
That's not what happened.
consequences. No consequences. Without consequences, there can be no discipline.
Without consequences, there could be no. I'm not mad at that. I'm not mad at that thought. Without consequences, there could be no discipline. Um, hold on, Daryl Jackson. What's happening, D? It's about culture. What does the society you live in value? Western culture is predicated on the acquisition of material goods. Capitalism. That's loose. I get the comparison, but again, capitalism is about selling something.
Yeah, capitalism is largely about transactionally sustainable, equal outcome for both parties. I mean, a lot of other parts of the world, yeah, they're materially driven, but they're large. Materials are just the same. The difference is whoever gets, the power just clobbers everybody else.
Yeah. I mean, well, again,
It's not to
again,
say they're not materially driven. They are.
that's why I said it's hard to say there are bad sheep. There only could be bad shepherds.
Yeah.
There could only be bad shepherds. Kevy McFly, she endured a lot to keep the lifestyle she wanted, but somebody or something woke her up. But she still consented during the periods. Nobody woke her up. I think she got with Puff Trainer and left Puff for the trainer, and realized probably
Well,
the
to
money
say he woke her up.
that she was living off of was not going to be there with the trainer anymore. And so she went back and got some of the money so she could try to kind of have the same life with the trainer that she had with Puff.
So should we say she went back and got the doggy bag?
The doggy bag is crazy.
Girls always want the bag, but if you're taking it to go, it's the doggy bag.
Devin Cutmore, God bless you. God bless you too. God bless you too. Again, man, I hear all of the shenanigans. Look, as a man that really has a level of morals, people think because I'm a Crip that morally I'm not, fibered. I am. If I owe you, I'm gonna pay you. Even if I don't say nothing. Don't think for 2 seconds I'm not going to pay you. Like it, and that like I'm not going to judge somebody who's morally different than me. So even a Puff, would I go to a party and do drugs and sleep with a bunch of girls? No. I would have to be able to do it sober. But morally, what do I look like trying to judge somebody that's addicted to drugs or addicted to sex? Like it just kind of, you know what I mean? Like it's hard. Like the Menendez brothers are bad. They murdered their parents, put a gauge to their head and blew their head off. Jeffrey Dahmer is bad. He was eating people. You know what I'm saying? There are some bad people.
Bad or hungry?
Yeah. Hungry for a specific type of meat. Daryl Jackson, I was taught in college that capitalism was based on a psychological premise, a human assumption that all people are motivated by self-interest. It's not a bad theory.
That's one professor's interpretation.
Sure, I'm not mad at that. Like you said earlier, she went back to get her severance pay, 401k plan. For sure, Michael Love, that's the truth. Tax player, y'all ignoring the fact about underage allegation, and that's crazy. There is no underage allegation, tax player or Texas player. There is no underage allegation. Again, that's something off of a meme.
Yeah, I think that's largely kind of the gist of what we're talking about. There's the supposed rumored happenings, and then there's the on paper charged happenings. So either it happened and they don't have the evidence for it, which why are you talking about it then? Or it happened and you have the evidence for it and you're not charging it?
Yes, that's not what's going on. Player, like this is what I'm saying. They would charge him with a crime against minors if there was allegations of crime. Well, allegations could be anything. Yeah. I mean, but he's not being charged with anything that has to do with the minor at all. That's not even in the indictment. So why? That's my point. Why are we even talking about that? Like that's ridiculous. Again, all it does is lean to make you think to dislike somebody and to convict them in a court of public opinion. Like it's just irresponsible as a human. Like it can happen to you. You got to be more responsible with with judgment, and you have to be more responsible with your brain. Like you gotta look at the indictment, go read it. It's not that long, it's not a ton of pages. Like you can look at it and look at what's going on. It won't say anything about a minor. You know what I'm saying? Michael Love, wait, I haven't seen any underage things. I don't believe there are drug charges. Correct me if I'm wrong. No, they're not. No, you're right, Mike. Like, I don't know. Again, and this is kind of what Kev was, I was talking to Kev about. I was telling him, I'm like, bro, you got to look at the indictment. Stop listening to the general conversation around people. Squishy Crutchfield, there was a lawyer making allegations yesterday. Yes, they created what looks like a class action civil lawsuit, even though it's not going to be class action, of 120 plus people saying Puff did something wrong to them sexually. That is scary. Like, y'all don't think that Puff, like, come on, man. Like, what is going on? Like, this is serious. Like, you know what I mean? Like 120 people puffed it. Come on, man. Like some of this stuff is crazy. And this is the problem. Like I'm looking at that and I really blame everybody. I blame y'all because y'all didn't really hold them accountable with the charges. You should have looked at the racketeering charges and be like, that's not right. Should have looked at the trafficking charges and said, that's not right. You got to stop having this mentality where it's like, well, he fought Cassie, so he's guilty of all of this. He's guilty of all of this. Because what he did to Cassie in this hotel, that don't make him guilty of all this. Like R. Kelly, it don't make R. Kelly guilty of the stuff there, racketeering and trafficking and the Mann Act because he married Aaliyah. Like, listen, control your rage, control your justice. But remember, as Black people in America, we Black, it is not going to be fair. And if you allow this system to try and be fair, I don't got to tell y'all what it looked like for people like us. They have never been fair. And they're not about to start being right now. They are not about to start being fair right now. So look, we finna get up out of here, but I want to ask y'all something. No Ceilings Live lunch hour, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Pacific Standard Time. Pete got to go. Anybody have any economic questions for Pete? If you need any tips on money, ideas, I want to make sure I offer Pete's counsel.
I'm not licensed to give information like that.
Yes, but minus the license.
Minus the licensing, that's a big deal.
It's just opinion. It's just opinions. It's just
true. We'll frame it. Yes, there will be opinions. There will be opinions.
Yes, this is Pete's opinion on what you should do. But again, this is the No Ceilings Live, the lunch hour, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, noon Pacific Standard Time. Click the link below, right in the description, right there. Like this. Subscribe to the No Ceilings podcast on Apple Podcasts or wherever you get your podcasts at. Executive produced by Charlemagne the God, Black Effects, and iHeart. We out of here.